Good afternoon, students. How are you doing today? I hope you are having a nice day. Yesterday we had a topic in biology and we talked about the structural, functional, and behavioral adaptations of organisms, whereby we talked about the meaning of structural, functional, and behavioral adaptations of organisms. Okay, we said structural means the physical feature of organisms. The functional is the internal biological processes that allows the organism to survive in its environment. And then the behavioral adaptation, we also talked about how different organisms behave for them to survive predators, for them to survive in their environment. So we talked about different terms in adaptation, whereby I talked about hibernation, the meaning of hibernation, that it occurs during cold season. We talked about the estivation, which occurs during dry season. And I gave you an example for that using snail. That is, during dry season, if you notice snail, sometimes you see a whitish color, whitish material in front covering their face. This is to prevent them losing too much water during the dry season. So this is one of the behavior of snails in order for them to survive the period. Okay, so we also talked about counter shading and warning colorations in organisms. So by we said for the counter shading, it's a process whereby the organisms try to blend with its environment. For instance, the fishes in the sea, their upper body is somehow dark, and then the below their underneath also blends with the water. So it's very difficult for predators to notice them. Okay, so this is a way of them surviving in their environment. So we moved to the various castes. We moved to the various castes in social insects, whereby I gave you different types of caste, whereby I gave you different types of caste. Okay, so whereby I gave you different types of caste, and then we talked about the reproductive caste. We talked about the reproductive caste. We talked about the work caste. We talked about the we talked about the worker caste. We talked about the reproductive caste. We talked about the the soldier caste. Okay. We talked about the soldier caste. All right. We talked about different types of organisms that experience each caste. For instance, the reproductive caste, I gave you an example of termites. Okay, I gave you an example using termites, whereby we have different organisms. Okay, for instance, the termites, they have division of labor, whereby we have the worker, we have the reproductive stage, we have the worker stage, the soldier stage, the elite. Okay, so and I gave you examples under the reproductive caste, which is the king and the queen. Also the worker caste, which are the wingless termites. We also talked about the soldier caste, They are the ones that defend their colonies. We talked about the elites, okay, the elites. So those ones, they are also winged reproductive termites. Okay, so we also move to the beak and leg adaptations in birds, whereby we looked checked the carnivores, the granivores, the nectivore, the filter feeders, the piscivore, the insectivore. So today we are moving to the mouth parts of adaptation of organisms, the mouth part adaptations in organisms, in insects. Okay, so we have different mouth parts in insects, just like we have different beaks in birds. So mouth part adaptation in insects. Okay, so this is where we are starting from today. Mouth part adaptations in insects. So as we have different organisms, we also have different mouth parts that allows them to survive in their environment. For instance, we are looking at the mosquitoes. We are looking at the mosquitoes, and the mosquito, it has a piercing mouth. Sometimes when a mosquito lays on you, like you feel the sharp points. You feel that something just eats you. You feel it inside of you. So this is telling you that the mouth part of the mosquito is piercing, is sucking. So it is pointed. That is the mouth part of mosquito. So it's specialized in extracting fluid. Okay, extracting fluid. Sometimes when a mosquito has been on you for a long time or for a longer time, if you try to kill it or you mistakenly kill the mosquito, you see blood on your body. This is to tell you that the mosquito has actually extracted fluid. The mosquito has extracted fluid from your body. So they have pointed, piercing, sucking mouth. So that is their mouth part. So it allows them to, to suck fluid. So we have different stylets from the mosquito. Yes, the mosquito has different stylets. And then don't forget we are talking about the mouth parts. Okay, so we have something we call stylet, and they had the labrum for mosquito. So we are talking about the mouth part. So they have something we call labrum. They have something we call mandible. Please take note of this. Mandibles. We have something we call maxillae. Maxillae. We have something we called hypopharynx. Hypopharynx. Then we have the labium. So all these, they are mouth parts of mosquitoes. They are mouth parts of mosquitoes, and they have different functions. Okay, please take note of these mouth parts. Don't forget, like I said yesterday, that everything we are taking here, we follow the syllabus. So these are the things that the UTME recommend their candidates to know. So please take note of all these things. So what is the function of the labrum? Does this labrum do? It is the main tube that allows the organism, that allows this mosquito to suck fluid. So it allows the mosquito to suck fluid. So that is the function of the labrum. Also, we have the mandibles. And what does the mandibles do? It's a sharp needle mouth. Okay, that is the structure of the mandible. It's a very sharp and pointed mouth part. So that is the structure of the mandible. Also, the maxillae functions as the same as the mandibles. All right. So we also have the hypopharynx, we have the labium, and all these mouth parts, they are the major mouth parts of the mosquito. So please take note of all of that. Okay. So we move to another organism, which is the butterfly. Butterfly and moth. Okay, so what is the mouth part? What are the structures of the mouth part of the butterfly and moth? What do they do? What functions do they carry out? What is the structure of their mouth parts? Okay, so the butterfly and moth, they have a long coiled proboscis. They have a long coiled proboscis. That is the structure of their mouth parts. Long coiled proboscis. Okay, and what do they use it for? They use it to suck nectar. If you take note of the butterfly and moth, you see that they mostly lay on the plants. You see them on plants. So their function, what they do, how they feed is that they suck the nectars in plants. That is the function of their long coiled proboscis. So we are going to we will be looking at the mosquito and the butterfly, then the moth. Those are the major organisms we are going to look at. Those are the major insects that we'll be looking at today under the mouth part. Okay, so we move to another subtopic, all right, which is protection and defense. I want to wipe up the board now. I believe we have grasped what is there in. So I'm going to wipe it off now. Okay. So we move to protection, protection and defense. So these organisms, those insects that we have talked about or that we have been talking about since yesterday, how do they protect themselves? So that is what we are looking into, the protection and defense. And we'll be looking at the stick insects, the stick insect. Okay, the stick insect. If you can hear me, please thumbs up. If you can hear me clearly and you are getting it, please thumbs up. All right. So we move to stick insects. What do we mean by stick insect? From the name stick insect, it looks like stick. They are insects that looks like stick. So if you can remember the first lesson we had in biology. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? If you can hear me, please thumbs up. Okay, thank you, peace. Okay. So okay, so we move to stick insects. All right. So if you can remember the first class we had, we talked about the living organisms, and I cited an example using insects that look like stick. That sometimes you see insects that looks like stick, and what will convince you that these sticks, they are actually living, their organisms, is their characteristics, their movements. Okay, so that is what tells you that, oh, this thing is an insect. So we have stick insect. All right, so under this insect, we want to see how they tend to um adjust to their environment, how they survive in their environment, what are the behaviors that they put in, what are the behaviors that they put on, how do they survive in their environment? Okay, so number one is camouflage. Camouflage. Don't forget, we want to see how these living insects, how these organisms protect themselves, how they defend themselves against predators. That is what we are looking at. Okay, so number one, we have camouflage. This is number one way of protecting themselves. So what do we mean by camouflage? What do they do? This what we mean by camouflage is that they pretend. All right, they pretend. Don't forget, stick insects look like stick, just from the name, as the name implies, they look like stick. So they resemble twigs, they resemble leaves. Okay, so they tend to motionless themselves. They don't move. When they see predators, they do not move. They try to be motionless just for you to think they are plants. So that is one of the ways they defend themselves. So we call it camouflage because they pretend to be leaves. They pretend to be twigs because they look like leaves. So they camouflage to be. So that is number one way of defending themselves. So we have another way, and the second one is the autotomy. Autotomy. That is the second way of defending themselves. Number one is the camouflage, and number two is autotomy. All right. So what do they do? What do we mean by autotomy? Autotomy simply means self amputation. Self amputation. Don't forget, the meaning of amputation is when the legs are cut off. So they self amputate themselves. That is autotomy. So what these insects do is that they try to keep their legs. They try to shed their legs in order for the predators to think they are not living, in order for the predators to see them as a plant. So they try to shed off their legs and then they remain motionless. So this is for you to see them as a plant or as a leaf. So you don't even think of harming them or hurting them because you don't see them as a living organism. So this is another way of protecting and defending themselves. All right. So we also have another way, and that is chemical defense. We have the chemical defense. So those are the three major ways in which the stick insects protect themselves. So chemical defense, this is the insects, this is the insects producing and releasing a foul smelling liquid to deter predators. Of course, when you smell a very foul odor, it will be very difficult for you to even move close to the area. So one of the ways they protect themselves is chemical defense. Chemical defense. So this is them producing and releasing a foul smell. Producing and releasing a foul smell. So those that are just coming in, please thumbs up if you can hear me. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. All right, so chemical defense, producing and releasing foul smell. So these are the three major ways in which the stick insects defend and protect themselves. Please take note of all those points. You can just see a question in your UTME and coming this way. You get, so just take note of all these points. Okay, so we move to another insect, which is the praying mantis. The praying mantis. How do they protect themselves? These insects, how do they protect themselves? They also use camouflage. Number one, they also make use of camouflage. All right, I explained the meaning of camouflage earlier. That camouflage means pretense. So this is a way of the organisms pretending to be what they are not, just for them to survive predators, just for them to escape from predators. Okay, so the praying mantis, what do they do? How do they camouflage? They try to blend to their environment. They resemble leaves, just like the stick insects. So they blend with the leaves, they blend with the environment so that it will be very difficult for predators to recognize them as insects. So this is a way of protecting themselves. All right. So another way is the threat display. Threat display. Threat display. We have talked about the camouflage. So the second one is the threat display. How do they display threats? How do they carry out this function? They try to spread their forelegs, then they appear bigger. So for any organism to move close to them, the organism will feel scared because it has enlarged itself. So it's a kind of threatening predators for them not to harm them. So this is another way of protecting themselves. Just like human being, even human being, sometimes if you don't have strength to fight, you don't have power to fight, you try to display all these kind of threats. If I catch you, I will destroy you, all these threats, so that the person coming against you, the person can feel scared, and that is how you save yourself. So same thing happens in organisms. All right. So the praying mantis, they have thread display. They display threads. They widen their legs for them to appear bigger and stronger. So the third point is the aggressive defense. Aggressive defense. Aggressive defense. Okay, so aggressive defense is is close to threat display. All right, it's similar to threat display, just that they use their sharp forelegs to strike at predators, and then they may even bite if handled. So they are so aggressive. Just like you see someone that is coming to fight you, of course you would want to do everything possible to save yourself. So that is their aggressive defense behavior. They try to save themselves. They try to display everything possible in order to save themselves. So even if you handle them, they might bite you. So they are so aggressive because they want to defend themselves. So these are the three major ways in which praying mantis defend and protect themselves. I believe we are following. We have looked into the stick insect, whereby we checked the camouflage, autotomy, and chemical defense. Those are the three major ways they protect and defend themselves. Then we looked into praying mantis, whereby um, the ways they defend themselves are the camouflage, threat display, and aggressive display. Those are the three major ways they defend themselves. Okay, so we are picking another organism, just one more organism, which is the toad. All right. So we cannot look into all the organisms. Just like I said earlier, that everything we do here is according to the syllabus that the UTME released for 2025. So we are looking into the organisms according to the UTME syllabus. So the next organism we are looking at is the toad, and that will be the last organism under the protection and defense. Okay, so I want to wipe off the board now. I believe we have grasped what is there in. All right. If you are following, please type yes, yes. If you are following, type yes, yes. All right. Thank you. So we move into toad. We have checked the praying mantis. We have checked the stick insect. So we are looking at toad. All right. So that'll be the last organism we are looking at under the protection, and defense. So for the toad, how do they defend themselves? How do they protect themselves against predators? Sometimes you see a toad and you'll be scared looking at the size because it has grown very big. How do they manage to grow as big as that without being hurt? Of course, they have their own way of protecting themselves and defending themselves against predators. And that is what we want to look at. So, number one is the poison gland. Unlike praying mantis, that camouflage, toad does not camouflage. They don't have the camouflaging behavior. So what they do instead is their poison glands. Their poison glands. So what do they do with their poison gland? There's something we call parotoid glands. So behind their eyes, they secrete toxic substance. Okay, let me come again. Under the poison gland. Toads have parotoid gland behind their eyes. So, and what does this do? It helps to secrete poisonous to predators. So these substances are very poisonous to predators. So any predator, any organisms higher than them that wants to hurt them will be scared seeing these toxic substances. So that is one of the ways they defend and protect themselves. So parotoid gland behind their eyes secretes toxic substances. Please take note of everything. The question can even come in this way that the name of the gland that secretes toxic substances in toad is called dash. It can come in any way. So please take note of everything. So parotoid gland is located behind their eyes and it secretes toxic substances. This is to threaten the predators. So it's because it's very poisonous to them. All right. So another point is their bumpy skin, bumpy skin mimicry. Okay, so their bumpy skin. We all know that toads have a very rough skin. So even we are seeing their skin, you are not you are not attracted to their skin because their skin is very rough. Okay, so their bumpy skin nature is also one of the ways, is also one of the things that help them to live and survive in their environment because their skins are not attractive. So their skins are rough and they look so unappetizing to predators. So this also help them to blend into their environment. Even sometimes you would literally step on them because you don't their skin blends with the environment. So one of the ways they blend, they survive and protect themselves is their bumpy skin nature, bumpy skin mimicry. Okay, so another way of them surviving predators is playing dead. Playing dead. Playing dead. Okay, so playing dead. How do they play dead? Some toads, when they see predators, they try to, pretend as if they are dead. They pretend as if they are dead. So that is playing dead, just for them to free from predators. Okay, so we call it playing dead. So they remain motionless to avoid detection. So when they see predators coming, they just stand still. They remain motionless. They play dead. So it will be very difficult for you to notice that there is something there. So you hardly notice them because they play dead. So this is also one of the ways they um this is one of the ways they survive in their environment. Then another one is inflation. Another way is inflation. Don't forget, we are under toad. We are looking at how toad survive in their environment, how toads survive in their environment, how they free from predators, how they protect themselves, how they defend themselves. That is what we are looking at. So I said number one is poison gland, number two, bumpy skin, number three, plain dead, and number four is inflation. And what do we mean by inflation? From the word inflate, for something to get increased, to get boosted. That is what we mean by inflation. So looking at the English word, then we can relate it to the organism. What does the organism do to inflate? Okay, so some of the species of toad, what do? They try to puff up their bodies to appear larger and intimidate predators. Okay, so from the word inflation, we should be familiar with the meaning and how the toad, what they do. All right. So they try to puff up their bodies in order to appear larger. So when they appear larger, it turns off the predators. All right. It intimidates predators. Okay. So those are the major ways in which toad defend themselves and protect themselves. So we are looking, I believe you understand. So if you understand, please thumbs up. If you understand, thumbs up before we move to the next subtopic. Thank you very much for your responses. Thank you. So we are moving to the next subtopic, and I believe we understand what is on the board. I'm going to wipe it off now so we can have space to write other things. Okay. All right. So we move to securing. This is another tense in adaptation. All right, this is another subtopic in adaptation. Securing mates in Agama, Agama, Agama lizards and birds. Securing mates in Agama lizards and birds. Okay, so what do you mean by securing mates in Agama lizards? What do you mean by mates? I believe we are familiar with the word mates, securing mates, securing. I don't want to use the word spouse because we use that for human being, but just for you to have the idea of what it entails. Okay, so securing mates is them looking for partner. All right, so that is what we want to look at. How do they attract their partners? What are the behavior they carry on? What are the behavior they exhibit? What are the things they do in order for them to have partner? That is what we are looking at. Okay, so number one is the Agama lizard. The Agama lizards. Okay, we have different types of lizard, and I hope you are familiar with that. Yes, there are some lizards, they are not colorful, they are just their normal color, normal lizard. And there are some that are fine, like they have color, they are colorful. Their head, they have like red color on their head, and looking at them you see that, oh, these lizards, they are fine, they have colors, they have different colors, they are colorful, unlike other lizards. So which means that there are different species of lizards. Okay, so the lizards that are colorful, they are called Agama lizards. Okay, so they are the one called Agama lizard. So any lizard you see that is colorful, that has like red headed and let's say orange color, their name is Agama. They are called Agama lizards. Okay, so what does this color do to them? Why do they have color on their heads? What is the function of the colors they have? What is what do they use it for? How do they carry out, what do they carry out with colors on their head? That is what we are looking into. All right. Don't forget, I said earlier that the Agama lizards, they are the red-headed male and female lizards. They are the red-headed. So anywhere you see a red-head lizard, what comes to your mind is that this lizard is an Agama lizard. Okay. So we want to look at how the color help them to secure mates. Okay, so a color change in males, that is the male Agama lizard, they develop bright red or orange red, like I said earlier, and deep blue bodies. They have different colors during their breeding season. And what do they use it for? It's just to attract females. Is just to attract females and warn their rival males. So, like human being, there are some people that they find fair people attractive, and the same thing happens in organisms. Okay, so they use their color, the red-headed color and the orange color, whatever their deep blue body, they use it to attract their females. Okay, so when they see them, you're like, oh, this lizard is beautiful. Just like humans, when you see your fellow human, you'll be like, oh, this person is beautiful, this person is handsome. So the same thing happens to the lizards. So when they see the ones that are colorful, they feel attracted and be like, wow, this lizard is beautiful. All right, just that I don't know if they will ask themselves, will you marry me? Yes, I really don't know about that. But what I know is that securing mates in them is the color attracts themselves. So that is how they secure mates. All right, peace. Okay, I can see your laughing emoji. All right, thank you. So that tells me that you are following. Okay, so the securing mates, that is what brings about that. Okay, so the color, their colorful heads, their deep blue body, it attracts their other mates. All right, and even they use the color to warn their rival mates, just like I said earlier, in humans too, when a lady, maybe a guy is looking at a lady, the guy tends to, to save her, they don't want rivals, they don't want any other person to move close to the lady. So the same thing happens in lizard. So they want their rival mate, don't move close to that girl, to that lizard. She's mine. So that is for the Agama lizards. Okay, so what they do with the red headed color is to secure their mates, is to attract their male mates, and then to warn their rival mate. Okay, so we move to edge bobbing and push up, edge bobbing, and push ups. This is also another ways of securing their mates. Sorry, this is not true. This is just a point under Agama lizard. Okay, so it's one of the ways of them securing mates. Okay, so what do they do? What do we mean by head bobbing, and push-ups? If you notice, there are some lizards you will see, like probably in one corner, they'll be moving their head like this. They'll be moving their head. That's what we call head bobbing and push-ups. And why are they moving their heads? What are they doing? Why are they moving their heads? It's just for them to have a dominance display, to impress females and intimate other males. Um, I'm still going to use human being as an example so you can understand better. There are some ladies that like guys or men that are muscular, men that can protect them, that can fight for them. The same thing is happening to lizards. So the head bobbing, there are some of them that are so attracted to the head bobbing and push-ups lizards. So when they are doing their head like this, they are displaying to other lizards, other mates, that see, I have power, I can protect you, I can fight for you. If anybody move close to you, I can give the person blow. So that is the function of their head bobbing and push-ups. They are trying to display their dominance, that see, I can fight for you, I have power. That is head bobbing and push-ups. And this also help them to secure mates. Don't forget, we are looking at how Agama lizards secure mates. And the number one I talked about is the color change. Don't forget, is the color change. Their color, red-headed male, red-headed color. Okay, so that's number one. Then number 2 point is the head bobbing and push-ups, right? That they try to display their dominance attitude to impress females, to impress and intimidate other males that they don't have past. So that is one of the ways they secure mates. And the next one is their territorial behavior. Their territorial behavior. Okay, their territorial behavior. What do we mean by this? How do they behave? How do they behave? They try to defend their territory aggressively, ensuring that only they have access to nearby females, just like the head bobbing and push-ups. All right, it's similar to the head bobbing and push-ups. So territorial behavior, taking for instance, let's say a male lizard and like two, three female lizards, they are in a corner. Okay, so the male lizard try to defend the territory where they are, just to attract one of the females. So we call it territorial behavior. So you try to defend the territory aggressively, just for the female to notice that, oh, this lizard can actually protect me. If I say yes to this lizard, I think it can protect me, just like in humans. Okay, so we call it territorial behavior. So they defend their territory aggressively. Okay, so we move to the female selection. Female selection. So after the males have displayed all this behavior, then the female unit, they need to choose, they need to select, okay, I want to go for this, I want to go for this. So how do they do it? How do they do it? There are some of them that will go for the colorful ones, those that have beautiful colors. And there are some that will go with for those that have strength, that have displayed strength, the territorial behavior, the head bobbing and push-ups and all of that. So this is just they are doing it by signals. Okay, so they are doing it by signals, and their signals indicate good health and genetic fitness. So that is for female. All right, so they try to check the males for the ones they want, then they signal, they make signals. So that is what the female do. We call it female selection. All right, so then we move to the birds. We are through with the Agama lizard, then we move to the birds. Okay, so for the birds, we have the feather displays, in birds. Okay, so what is the feather displays in birds? How do they display their feather? So in different birds, they we also have different ways in which they display their feather, and displaying of their feathers also means different thing to their other birds. So this is the securing mate. This is what we have under securing mate. Also under adaptation, we have regulating body temperature. Yes, we have regulating body temperature. For instance, in some organisms, in birds, we have the skin, we have the hairs, we have feathers. All these help them to regulate body temperature. Like in humans now, we make use of our skin. When there is heat, you sweat, and the sweat comes out of your skin. This is you regulating your body temperature. And also in organisms with feathers, they try to regulate their body temperature. For instance, if you pour water on birds, what do? They shed off their feathers. Okay, so this is them trying to regulate their body temperature. So so the class of today, I'm going to recap everything we have done today before we move to the questions. Okay, so we talked about the mouth parts, adaptation in insects, whereby we talked about the mosquitoes, the butterfly, and moth. All right, and I said the mosquito they have piercing and sucking mouth parts. All right, I made mention of I cited an example whereby a mosquito lays on your body, and let's say after a few seconds you try to kill the mosquito, then you see blood on your body. This is telling you that the mosquito has actually sucked the blood out of your body. So they have a pointed mouth part in order to pierce through the surface of your body. So I have explained that, so it's just a recap. Then we move to the stick insect, how they try to adapt to their environment. We talked about the praying mantis and the toad. Then we now move to the securing mate in Agama lizards and birds, whereby we talked about the color change, egg bobbing and push-ups, territorial behavior, female selection. Then we move to the feather displays in birds. Okay, so if you have any question, please make use of the chat box. Drop your question while we treat different past questions. All right, so I want to wipe off the board now so we can have space to write questions, different past questions on this topic. So I want to wipe it off now. All right. So we'll be starting with 2022. There's a question on that 2022. Um this is under what we just finished talking about. All right. So this question is under lizard, what we just finished talking about. As you can see, so if you know the answer, please drop it using the chat box. Drop it using the chat box if you know the answer. I want to see your answer at the chat box. The question says the display of male Agama lizard is to dash. The display of male Agama lizard is to dash. A. Scare predators. B. Defend its territory. C. Attract female for mates. D. Give warning to intruders. The display of male Agama lizard. Don't forget that everything we discussed, they are called display. Yes, everything we discussed, they are display. So what is the primary function of all this display? What is the primary function? Please, I want to see the answer using the chat box before we move to the next question. I'm waiting. A. Scare predators. B. Defend its territory. C. Attract female for mate. And D. Give warning to intruders. Okay, thank you. So, the primary, the primary reason of their display is what? Is C, which is attract female for mate. Attract female for mate. All other ones, they are doing it as for them to attract female, so they are still display. Every other options are still display. To scare predators, defend the territory, give warning to intruder, they are display. So the primary reason of them doing all those things is to attract female for mate. So the answer is C. Thank you. So the answer is C. we move to the next question. We move to the next question. This question is under what we did yesterday. Remember, we couldn't treat past question yesterday because of our time. We needed to attend to some questions in the chat yesterday. So we said we are going to treat them together today. So this question is under what we did yesterday. And as I'll be pasting it on the board, I want you to give me the answer using the chat box. Okay. So look at the question. It says, which is not a social animal? Which is not a social animal? A, butterfly. B, ants. C, termites. D, bee. Which is not a social animal? Or let's say, which is not a social insect? Yesterday, we talked about 4 major insects. I gave you an example of the social insects that we have. And I said, number 1 is ants. I talked about bee. I talked about termites, and I talked about wasps. Wasps. These are the social insects I gave you yesterday. So which one did we not talk about? That's butterfly. So butterfly is not a social animal. And what do we mean by social? Like we talked yesterday, they are the ones that form colonies. So butterfly is bigger than all the small insects that we see inside the soil that form colonies. So that is what we mean by social insect, social animal. So butterfly is not a social animal. So we move to the next question. We move to the next question. This is from 2020. This question I want to paste now is from 2020. Please pay total attention. Give me total attention. Take note of everything we are doing. As you can see that everything we have been talking about, they have actually been past questions. Okay, so please give me your total attention. So this question is also one of the things we have talked about. Okay. So I want an answer using the chat box. Please give me an answer. It says spines and shells on animals are adaptations of dash. Spines and shells on animals are adaptations of dash. A, camouflage. B, chemical defense. C, physical defense. And D, mimicry. When you see a question, try to understand the question before you even go and check the options. Try to understand the question before you check the options. What is this question saying? Spines and shells. Of course, you can see that with your eyes. Remember what we talked about yesterday? We talked about structural, functional, and behavioral adaptations of organisms. And I told you that the structural adaptation is the physical features of organisms. That is what you can see with your naked eyes. So looking at this, spines and shells on animals, you can see those things, right? So they are adaptation of dash. A, camouflage. B, chemical defense. C, physical defense. And D, mimicry. Please give me an answer using the chat box. I want to see your answer. I'm waiting. Okay. All right. So A says camouflage, B, chemical defense, C, physical defense, and D, mimicry. According to what we have done, the answer is what? Is C, physical defense, because you can see those things with your eyes. And I explained the functions of all these animals that have shells, like the snail, like the tortoise. I explained their functions. So this particular adaptation is physical defense. So the answer is C. All right. So have another question under 20 2020. Yes, that's the year 2020. Okay. This question is also one of the things we talked about yesterday, and I did a recap when we started today. So I'm going to wipe off the board now. I hope you have grasped it. Right. So the next question says an insect with a mandibulate mouth parts will obtain its food by dash. An insect with a mandibulate mouth part will obtain its food by dash. A. Biting and chewing. B. Chewing and sucking. C. Chewing. And D. Sucking. What is your answer according to what we discussed under mouth parts? The answer is what? Is A, which is biting and chewing. So their mandibulate structure, their mandibulate part helps to bite and chew. Helps to bite and chew. So the answer is A. And then we move to another question. Which says, okay, um this is also under what we did yesterday. This is under what we did yesterday. Okay, going to wipe off the board. So this question is about the termites. We discussed the termites yesterday, and I showed you the pictures of each of the casts. So you should be able to tackle this question, because I remember I showed you the picture of each of the casts. All right, I showed you the king, I showed you the worker, I showed you the queen, the soldier, and the elite. All right, so this question says the cast of termites that lack pigmentation is the dash. The cast of termites that lack pigmentation. I made mention of this thing yesterday. Yes, I made mention of this particular question yesterday. And they had the worker caste. We talked about the reproductive caste. We talked about the worker caste. We talked about the soldier caste and the elite. So the answer for this is what? Is the worker, which is B. They are the one that lack pigmentation. Why? Because they don't move out of their colonies. They are always inside. They are always inside their is it in the woods, underground. Why are they always there? Because their work is to take care of the colony. Their work is to repair the nest. Their work is to forage food for those that are there, for the other caste. Their work is to take care, is to groom those that are just joining them, those that are just coming up. That is that. So they are always underground. They lack pigmentation. Their color remains there. That is why we say it is worker, because they don't move out of their colonies. So I hope we all understand this topic and we can see how UTME questions come under this topic. And I want to say that you should try and check other past questions in our app. You can see numerous past questions. Try to check them one after the other. Look for questions under this topic. Solve as many as possible. So we are going to meet, I think, next tomorrow. Yes, we have biology next tomorrow, and I can't wait to see you all. So thank you for joining today. Have a wonderful night's rest. Bye.